Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 452, and today we're going to be doing battle in an Eternal Ruthless Rumble. And so as we always start off our best of 3 videos, if you're wanting to see any of the decks we're playing today, you can scroll backwards through the channel. We've covered off on 2 of the 3 up to this point, and we'll look to cover off on the 3rd here in just a bit. But the lineup we're going to be bringing today, if you want to skip ahead to the games, we're going to be playing Vayne, Jarvan, Galio, which maybe 2 people watched the video on. You're really missing out on that one. I think the deck is actually something quite special. We're playing Trundle Ornn Timelines, and we're going to be playing Jax Vi Timelines. And so, to get ourselves kind of primed and ready for this best of 3 format, I put together a nice infographic on the very important things to know. First and foremost, you want to play good decks with good cards. And so I'm sure you have some kind of really wonderful counter strategy to Cosmic Call brewed up. I'm sure it involves some real great winners like Gwen or something. These decks are all garbage. You cannot be bringing this style of deck into the best of 3 Eternal meta. The other decks in the format are just way too good, and you're not going to play against the decks like Cosmic Call with enough frequency to warrant bringing just these ultimately super shitty decks. And so, as it stands, I just say play good decks that have good cards in them, and try and really keep, your desire to play something like Vladimir into the ranked queue or into the casuals. These decks are not going to survive in the Ruthless Rumble. Up next, speaking of those good cards, this is how I really have things kind of tiered off in this format. The kind of good card A and good card B are Concurrent Timelines and Cosmic Call. Take your pick on whichever one you think is better. Both of these are degenerate, and both of these cards need nerfed. I can't wait to come into standard with 8 mana Cosmic Call. That is going to just be fucking obnoxious. And so I'm curious if Riot is going to hotfix Cosmic Call coming into the best of 3 style of events, as we saw last season when they took the concurrent timelines from 2 mana to 3. And so my opinion, this is the space that you really kind of need to be in this format. If you like Cosmic Call, play 3 Cosmic Call decks. If you like concurrent timelines, play 3 concurrent timelines decks. The cards are just completely degenerate. Nothing matches their power level, and you can do this thing into best of 3 as to where you can, identify that Cosmic Call is the best card in the game right now. You can put together a 34 card Cosmic Call deck and then fill out those remaining 6 slots differently across your other various factions. And so you could say, cool, I'm playing Cosmic Call deck that has 1 atrocity in it, deck A. Okay, cool, I'm playing Cosmic Call with Victor Aphelios, that's P and Z, deck B. And then I got this Zoe and Samira left over. I'm playing Cosmic Call with my 3 Noxus cards in it. Like, it's very, very, very easy to pull off things like that. And Riot, in my opinion, shouldn't let this happen. And so as it is right now, as it is today as this video is being recorded, I feel like you should either be playing Cosmic Call or Concurrent Timelines. We're playing 2 of 3 Concurrent Timelines. I'm pissed at you all for only watching, only like 3 people watched the Vayne Jarvan video, and so I feel like I have to play it to just to get it a little bit more visibility. But there is a very good chance that we're just going to bring in the Bandle City version with the Banana Blasters and play triple concurrent timelines in this format. Now, if you say, Bust, I disagree with you, I'm going to go way off the rails, I'm not playing concurrent timelines, I'm not playing Cosmic Calls, then you can move down to the D section. This is Everyone Loves the D. Happens with the everywhere effects. And I think that this is the next most important thing to really be paying attention to. Concurrent timelines and Cosmic Call are both everywhere effects within themselves. Concurrent timelines essentially affecting your units everywhere that you play turn after turn. Cosmic Call affecting your celestial cards everywhere. This is the kind of tier 2 of everywhere effects, with Balin giving all of your formidables effects, Nasus just growing and growing and growing within your deck, the Albus Pharos growing and growing and growing as you play 6-cost spells, and then Seraphine building towards that flip while she's not on the board. These are the kind of next things you need to be looking towards, and they are highly powerful in the sense that you either get the effect on board and then it affects everything else. So if you play Balin, you attack, you boost all your formidables for the rest of the game, your opponent kills Balin, and now you still have that buff. And then in the case of these other ones, Nasus, Albus, Seraphine, these are all units that grow and build towards their flip without being on the board. And so you can kind of continue on with your strategy as normal. If you don't draw the key aspect of your deck, if you don't draw your Nasus, if you don't draw your Albus, it's okay. They're still in your deck just growing and building up and preparing to just blow up the world when they do actually get drawn. And it's not as big of a problem as, say, like building a deck around, I don't know, Teemo, right? And then if you don't draw Teemo, the deck just completely falls apart because he's not on board scaling. These units still scale even though they aren't actively being played. Last but not least, down in the F section is the Forge mechanic. I feel like the Forge mechanic was the strongest thing that you could be doing in the previous Eternal meta, minus concurrent timelines, and I don't feel like it really got enough of a visibility there either, but with the nerf to Fish Fight, I think that it really put a hammer down on a lot of these Forge decks, and so I'm not as big on the Forge mechanic on the whole as I was previously. In the last Eternal event that we top 8'd, we brought 3 separate Forge decks, had a lot of success there, but I still think the potential is there, but the Fish Fight nerf was pretty monumental to weakening up those decks. So, part 3, you have to be able to interact with an early game winner. And so this is what really kind of hammered in with the Fish Fight and weakening the Forge decks from the days of old. If you don't have a way to, say, kill off a Zoe, kill off a Samira, kill off an Aphelios in the early game, then it's just done. You cannot be coming out here playing these decks that are just like, oh boy, I'm putting a bunch of stats on the board, you're putting a bunch of stats on the board. Who's going to do it better? The deck playing Zoe is. And so you have to have some kind of way to where your opponent plays their 1-drop, they play their 2-drop, you don't touch it, and then it just scales off into oblivion. You can't let that happen. It does not matter what archetype you're playing. It does not matter what the deck makeup looks like. If you cannot interact with these early game plays, you're going to get annihilated. And so I really put a lot of emphasis on being able to kill an early game Zoe, be able to kill an early game Akshan, be able to kill an early game Samira. If they sit on the board, you're just going to die. And then some of these cards like Nami, if it sits on the board, you just lose the game. And so you have to have some kind of answer to these cards as they come about. You can't just play a bunch of stat-based things and let your opponent scale off uninterrupted. Last but not least, the last thing I have to say is if you're not playing Cosmic Call, you have to be faster than Cosmic Call. And so you can't be playing decks like Karma, right? Karma is not going to get to turn 10 and do Karma things because that's just slower than Cosmic Call. The barrier for what a control deck is able to do is Cosmic Call. Anything slower than Cosmic Call just loses to Cosmic Call, and it's just absolutely, completely unplayable in this format. And so whatever nonsense you're trying to do to where you play back alley bar and then drag the game on until turn 11, turn 12, that nonsense just doesn't cut it. Your opponent's going to drop like 60 mana of Celestials on you and the game's got to be done. And so the absolute top barrier is going to be things that have Cosmic Call in it. We used to see this in the past formats as to where you would be playing a deck, say, like Nora Vagar, right? And Nora Vagar was a little bit slower than, say, Nora Swain. So the Nora Vagar deck absolutely crushed Nora Swain. And then Nora Swain was just a little bit slower than the mid-range decks of the format, and then it absolutely crushed those mid-range decks. But as you looked to the slower end of the spectrum from Nora Swain, it could not beat anything that was just a little bit slower than it. And then the Nora Vagar deck could not really beat anything that was just a little bit slower than it. And then, as the things kind of continue on down the road, there is just such a hard barrier with that in terms of Cosmic Call. The density of Cosmic Call decks that we're going to see and the sheer power level that it brings, that if you're slower than Cosmic Call, then you're just going to fail. And so that's the primer. We can pull up the deck lists real quick, real fast. First and foremost is the Vayne Jarvan Galio deck. This is the one I'm bringing because you dickheads didn't come out and watch the video. I'm talking trash to all of you except the 5 people that actually watched it. This deck is spectacular. It's a nice throwback to the Vayne Jarvan deck that we played in the previous Open, and I really like a lot of the things that are happening with this between the Balin giving us the everywhere bonuses, the Cataclysms working with the Anaka from the Darkened Spear and the Balins, and then the Scout things from the Yordle Ranger, and then the Tumbles also doing kind of the same thing. I think a lot of the aspects and elements of this deck really pop off in this format. And if there is some kind of answer to playing triple or some kind of counter to concurrent timelines, this at least gives us a little bit of variety in our lineup. so we're not bringing just kind of like 3 of the exact same deck. Now, in terms of what we were talking about with the required interactivity, this deck does have Fleet Feather Trackers and Petricite Broadwings to interact with the opposing early game units. It has Cataclysms and Concurrent Strikes as removal spells. It has ways to come down and challenge some of these units off the board and shut them down. In terms of being faster than the Cosmic Call deck, we have those answers as well. Champion Strength gives us a really big blasting way to crush through those style of decks, and then the Tumble Scout Shenanigans also let us get those free rallies and beat them down before they're able to develop off of that 8 mana spell. Deck number 2 is Trundle Ornn Concurrent Timelines. The things that I'll say about Trundle Ornn is in both of our Timelines decks, I've moved to including 1 copy of Station Archivist. Again, as we are trying to be faster than the Cosmic Call decks, I think it's very important to hit that concurrent timelines as early as possible. And so the inclusion of the Station Archivist gives us an additional way to dig for that timeline should we not find it. After that, we do have a bunch of burn spells to try and take the opposing Zoes off the board. We've got the Mystic Shots and Blowbacks. I've started kind of switching into Aftershock since there are starting to be more relevant landmarks running around. And if you've ever tried to Mystic Shot an Akshan, that typically doesn't really get a kill. Just so easy to give him the additional +1 health. And so moving up to the 2 copies of Aftershock gives us a little bit more reliable ways to take those early game units off of the board. Last but not least, we are playing Jax Vi, another fairly common concurrent timeline style of deck. This one is much more burn heavy. The flex spots that we're doing with this are again, Station Archivist, having 1 additional copy of the Archivist so that we have additional ways to dig for the timelines, and then the 1 copy of Sump Monument. I haven't really decided how much Sump Monument I want to bring into this format. I do really like its usage against a lot of the big OTK style of decks, but it's not something I want to go really overboard with. And so 1 copy in here with 3 augmented Clocklings to potentially tutor for it feels like enough blessings to RNGesus to hopefully get us through the day. And so those are the decks. Let's go ahead and jump on into battle. I checked in on the pay-to-win price, and we are good to go. Everything in the decks, all premium. We got a couple of lingering epics and some lingering champions. If we play these decks in the open or in the Runeterra open or Mastering Runeterra open here in a couple of days, we might find ourselves turning some of those premium. But as it is, just gonna leave them back behind. And so, as far as these decks go, I'm going to be banning out the Akshan Samira. The Pirates, to me, is this kind of deck that it's, you know, if opponent is happy enough to win like a coin flip, then they're probably kind of happy with Pirates. I think Pirates is just a shitty matchup against a lot of the Cosmic Call decks, depending on how anti-aggro they really want to be. So I'm not huge on Pirates these days. Maybe we actually do just take down Pirates. I like our removal suite against Akshan Samira. It's just Akshan Samira can really pop off on the Vayne Jarvan deck. But we'll be leaving up this. I'm assuming this is a Cosmic Call-based Heimerdinger deck, since it has P and Z, or since it has Targon in here instead of Shadow Isles. Alright, we'll take out Akshan Samira. Alrighty. Leading in with Vayne Jarvan Galio. I know what I'm about. And we're going to bring in the Thunder that way. And so we'll see. Like, I typically coming into these best of 3 events, it takes me a while to get like a real feel for the format. This is my first Ruthless Rumble this season. And I usually start these off 0-2. And so we'll see how it goes. The other thing is I feel like if I'm able to take my lineup and really grind up on the ladder, I do a lot better in terms of, you know, feeling like that's a reasonable lineup. And I've been struggling a little bit with the ladder these days. I feel like I'm not quite strong enough against the Cosmic Call, and I feel like I'm about like 37, 38 of 40 on each of these deck lists. I feel like they're just each a little bit short of optimal, and so I take a little bit of fixing to get through. But nonetheless, let's see what we can do. We're up against Pirates in game 1 here. Of course he's got to play. No surprises there. Let's see if we can't get on board. Slightly awkward. I wish we could get on board faster than Durandi Sculptor really allows for, but might be able to jump ahead here quickly. This is very nice that he doesn't have a double unit for the turn, and I'm going to go out of our way to just prevent every point of damage. So we'll go ahead and just put the block down with the Broadwing. I would assume with him being aggressive like that, he's just going to play Misfortune next turn, but we'll have to see what the opponent's got going on. So I'm looking to lead in with Sculptor here. I'm going to play Darkened Spear onto the Sculptor so it becomes a relevant unit, and then we'll look to get the Charger on board next turn. It's a little bit worrisome against Pirates since they are quite good at completely filling out the board. We have a very go tall hand as it is right now that'll get one unit on board and then get a Darkened Spear down. If opponent plays like a Mirai Warden and another 2-drop or something, we're really going to be struggling in terms of damage. There's nothing we could do about it with the way our hand really came together, but the opponent just making these curve plays feels pretty fantastic for us. So we might have a shot in this game. This is just not a very, it's not a terrible Pirates draw, but it's a Pirates draw to where the deck isn't doing what they want it to do.
Need repairs?
So we'll lose the Durandi Sculptor to the Jagged Butcher is what it is, but we should get the takedown on Misfortune and still have a unit left behind. Very strong, very powerful. Oh, wrong one. Where you at? I want that Petricite Charger. I was like, what just happened here? I was trying to put the wrong unit down. To make it rain. Dang. As I was just thinking to myself, it's like I really want to kind of overwrite the equipment on the Sculptor with this other Darkened Spear, just to give it that little bit of a health boost, but would probably sequence that the wrong way. Very punishing, though, not having that extra blocker. Like, that's what I was sitting here thinking, is like, man, having another 2-3 on the board is going to feel pretty good here. That sequencing just did not pan out for us. Oh, he's blocking. Gotta love seeing that. Gotta love seeing that. So how are we going to go about this? Like, the thing I'm kind of eyeballing here is I would really like to champion Strength on our next attack token. But we can't really do it and also get Jarvan down. And so we're going to have to kind of come up with something here. It's like, in my head, I can tell that we're probably just going to have to play Jarvan next turn and have him on board and ready for blocking duty. But it's not particularly optimal. Not particularly optimal, I tell you. Thinking on this one long and hard. Gonna use all that clock before he puts Misfortune on the board. Oh snap, just no spells. Interesting. You just have a hand that has like 2 or 3 decimates in it or something? That's wild. Maybe he's disconnected here. Uh-oh. Looks like he's gotten a visit from the disconnect.
Demacians, fight for your king.
It's a bit of a bummer. But do what we gotta do to take these victories down, right? I can't remember like how many trophies I need to get to that second bye. I'm kind of hoping the Ruthless Rumbles are on repeat mode this time, so that I can come in and just get some more games in. But we'll see. So what I'm looking to do with this, I mean, I assume the game's just kind of over at this point, but I want to put a Darkened Spear on one of these units. I'm going to put the Stance Swap on the other one. We'll take that 1 mana bank into the next turn. See if the champion Strength won't close out the game. Is he back? Nope. It's like the timer stopped moving. Maybe he's Maybe he's back.
Fine work, soldiers. Fine work.
You were in pretty good shape that game. I mean, there's no real telling what's going to happen with Pirates. They have so much potential to just come in and blow up the game at the end of the day. But that was a very manageable Pirates draw that we were up against, in the sense that it didn't have the width, right? That's the way that they typically get the damage down. If you get to play like 3 and 4 1-drops in the first couple turns of the game and get a Mirai Warden in there and have 4, 5, 6 units on the board by the end of the third turn, like that's what you're really looking to do. You're not trying to say, you know, here's my one big unit running into your other one big unit. It doesn't pan out exactly how they want. Still thinking with this deck though, like the thing that I really liked in the last season is we were playing the innovative blacksmith and we were playing the Hearthblood Mender in all of our decks, with the idea being that, you know, Forge is just so strong. But as you do run into these matchups against Pirates that can literally come down to 1 or 2 points of health, having that like 3 life gain from a Mender and 2 life gain from an innovative blacksmith would do a ton of work in terms of just giving you that little touch of survivability you needed to kind of get the victories against these ultra aggro decks. And here we do have the blacksmith, but we're not playing the Mender anymore. And so I'm kind of curious to myself how much, like, as we play these formidables and how so much of their attack is tied into their health, if we would rather just be playing the Mender anyways. You know, it's just in the sense that, you know, we attack with our Petricide Broadwing, the opponent blocks, it has 1 health, and then if we're healing our Broadwing back up to 3 health, while it's not, you know, super optimal because it doesn't have an equipment attached to it, that bonus health can still be quite good. Alright, so what are we up against here? I would assume Teemo, Kayle, PNZ as an Elusives deck. That's a little scary. Here in the middle, this LeBlanc number is a Rico Rex Overwhelmed deck, and then at the right we have Gangplank Sejuani. I feel okay enough playing against Gangplank Sejuani. I worry about mainly the likes of this Elusives deck. It should be pretty decent against Ornn. It's kind of weak to Vayne, kind of weak to Jax, but I would say it's probably even to Jax and weak to this, but I don't want to play it against it with the Ornn. I feel like we can have enough big units to throw in front of the kind of Overwhelms deck from Rico Rex here, and so I think that'll kind of turn out okay. It's like if we're able to spike a timelines in the early game, it just does so much in terms of playing against Overwhelm that I feel a little bit safer there. I'm so curious about this rise of Gangplank Sejuani. Like, looking at its stats look so good these days, but it's like, are you really excited to play a deck that cannot win the game? Well, it rarely wins the game, I should say, when it doesn't have Gangplank or Sejuani on board, and you're playing against the Cosmic Call decks that just have so many ways to generate obliterates, and they're already playing Sunbursts. Like, it strikes me as just being very odd. But no, it's doing something, right? It's doing something. But here, happy enough to get the Weaponsmith's Apprentice down on turn 1. Just ready to come down and block, so if opponent plays Mirai Warden now on turn 2, we can stop both halves of the unit. Can't stop a Tusk Speaker, but I'm definitely happy to see the Tusk Speaker come down on the opponent's turn. And so we aren't having to deal with this thing to where, you know, he attacks and deals points of damage, and then on our attack token he plays the Tusk Speaker to get the Sejuani level up in. So it's good sequencing for us, the way that this is played out.
Beat the drum.
Let's see what we draw. It'd be big time if we hit one of our 6 improvised units this turn. Otherwise, like, I'm not opposed to just playing the Archivist. It's certainly not optimal, but we could. I guess taking a 2-bank with the Archivist into the next turn is not that bad, since we can play the majority of our burn should we spike it. We can hit both Mystic Shot and Aftershock if we take the 2-bank. So maybe we just drop the Apprentice in, see if we hit a good unit. Not really. I'm leaning towards this Unscarred Reaver. Like, it's not impressive here by any means, but it can activate if opponent wants to play a Make It Rain. And I'm just kind of looking at this like, say we go into the next turn, and opponent like just attacks with this Tusk Speaker, and we get to block and prevent the full damage with the Unscarred Reaver and stop him from actually dealing damage to us. Like, that sounds pretty ideal to me. Just block 2 of these dum-dums, right? You can put it in front of a black market merchant or something. Like, I think I like the possibilities that it brings. Opponent's not really buying in though.
Let me focus. You'll regret when
So we can fall to 10. I don't like. I'm not gonna Unforgiven Cold. We haven't played any weapons. I don't think a blowback is worth it here. If he only had 1 unit on board, I would blow back. But I think this is fine. We can look to add in an Archivist this turn, see what we hit. If we hit a Mystic Shot, we can still follow up with the Urchin. Timelines. Not the idealist.
Let me get you that file.
Take the Fuzzy Caretaker, recently buffed. Thank you. Thank you, Riot, for coming out and boosting the concurrent timelines. It really needed it. And so I'm glad you all decided concurrent timelines needed a buff, and so we're just gonna come out and buff a random shitload of cards. Appreciate it. So what do we got here? The combat reel is okay. Probably just want the Pot of Pain. Let us block a Gangplank if we need to or something. And then I'm gonna go Stellacorn here. Just to have the highest health unit that we can get. Pretty reasonable looking attack we can do here though. As his board stands, it sucks against all these units. Like, I guess this is a time to where he's not, you know, really upset about playing Spirits Unleashed. It's going to kill 2 of our units and then make his units big. But he can't just like play Gangplank here.
Away! To me! Anything helps. I'll prove myself to the War Mother.
All right, here comes the squad. Look at that. Look at that guy. That Stellacorn's doing shit. Stellacorns are born of stars, with some burning hotter than others. That's stupid. I'm here for the hard-hitting flavor text analysis. That's stupid. Sure. Feels kinda okay. There's the Spirits Unleashed. Not certain why he didn't do that before combat. But we'll take it. See what we can do now. A little awkward with the double blowback, but we're at least, you know, safe from his champions with the Unforgiven Cold in hand.
I'll make corpses of them all. Hang them by their entrails.
And we don't have to worry about, oh, I guess we do have to worry about flips, but if Gangplank flips, he's at least not going to kill our unit. There's a lot of cards coming on board. What is this nonsense?
Mine and mine alone.
Not certain why he wouldn't want to flip before he attacked. I don't know. Doing the Gangplank AoE typically feels pretty good. A little surprised by that. So now we have to say, you know, what are the chances we just get annihilated by Sejuani here? I think we're okay to just open attack. Like, what's the worst that could happen? Famous words. It just doesn't feel good enough. Let's add a unit. Pick up the Pot of Pain. I don't like the fearsome on the Sandsworn Amulet doesn't matter now that he's played the Spirits Unleashed, so I don't think that that's a very big deal. Pretty weak collection of units here. Let's go with the Sparkleologist.
Nice to meet you.
Dang,
I'm Isla.
a lot of dudes out of nowhere. Unfortunately, most of his units can just come in and kill our units, right? So that's not the most ideal situation for us.
Whoa, pretty.
This is where we gotta stop. You can't outright win against the Sparkleologist here. Sure. Alright, what you got for us, Deck? We got to get something good. Really falling behind with those two tentacles coming in. Let's combat Cook, and then we probably... Well, that's interesting. I was going to say, we probably just want the Camaveran Dragon. I like having that drain effect as we're getting, you know, kind of low in health, but the Wyvern is going to pick up Overwhelm here. And then we have this weird, I don't know, squirrel to give it some bonus health. I think that's the way to go. We can make this blowback play next turn, assuming we make it that far, to where we can blow back whatever he blocks the Overwhelm unit with, and then we can deal the 3 damage to it, and the extra Overwhelm gets to try and punch in. He's just going for the lethal, though. We're not gonna get that far. We're gonna have to blow back the Yordle.
I've got this.
Interesting. Well, we got a shot now. This is a very weird set of attacks. Very spewy with these Mirai Wardens attacking into stuff they can't kill. Oh shit, I forgot about the Sejuani thing. It's less less spewy than I was giving it credit for. But yeah, without the blowback now, maybe we should have just kept the blowback so that we could... Yeah. Right, see, if you're not familiar with this play, it puts the Jagged Butcher in front of the Wyvern, and then we blow back the Butcher so that it gets the -3 health, and then we still get to crash in. GG. That's tough. That's one of those games to where it's like I have to stop and consider whether or not I would prefer to play some stuff like... oh, what's it called? Like we're playing the... It's not Thermogenic Beam. It's Aftershock. Like play the 1-mana spell that lets you... The Tellstones that let you generate Aftershock. It's more in terms of mana, but having access to Progress Day to try and draw out of some of those situations can be pretty big. Alright, next game though. Starting off with the timelines, always good. The Archivist... It's tough. Like, it's gonna just morph on turn 3 anyways. We're not gonna get to do anything with the spells. Maybe we just want to make sure we have a unit to play. Like, if we can turn the Archivist into a loyal Badger Bear or something, then I think I'm pretty content with that unit. even if we just ignore whatever is happening off the spell effects.
A brief engagement, but a joyous
So do we want to go ahead and put this urchin on board? I think we can wait for the moment. Like, if he opens with the boisterous host, that feels like a win. It's just, we're not going to have the time to add the concurrent timelines and add the urchin. Alright, so now we're kind of like missing out on this block. And I think this is a matchup where, you know, in terms of what we can do with this urchin, we can play it before the innovative blacksmith and try and just get the blacksmith on board face up. So that we don't have to lose out on the life gain that it can bring. But perfect hit here in the Pot of Pain. I wanted to get a unit on board and the timelines down, so next turn we can just start doing timeline stuff. And so feel much safer here. We can also kind of get the free card draw off this Archivist if we want. We got, you know, both options for next turn in the sense of, do we want to play the Archivist and then just discard the card? You know, lots of things to do potentially.
Won't need tools for this.
It's kind of an interesting same deal with Fareth. It's like, I'd like to just draw the card with him next turn. Ooh. So what's up, Crescent Codger? There was the Weaponsmith's Apprentice in that mashup as well. So we had a potential to just get this really big unit on board. Now this is where I'm a bit bamboozled by not having played against this deck enough, in the sense that do we want to just play Vi this turn? Oh, if he adds Gwen, that's pretty scary. And I also kind of want to gain the health off of Fareth. Just add the Archivist. Not going to play any of these.
Calling card from our other case.
Add in Fareth. Gain that point of health. Then we can come in and start making a few attacks this turn. This is a safe one. This guy's gonna die anyways. I think that's where we stop.
May I see your invite?
Gotta let him get all these hallowed bonuses before Captain Calrix brings in the attack, right? famous last words.
Time to make an appearance.
One girl wrecking crew.
My move.
Alright, so let's just prevent as much as we can.
Get shipwrecked.
Come on.
Guess we can block with Vi. Like, I feel like if he's gonna play combat tricks onto this Phantom Butler to kill Vi, instead of playing them on Captain Kilrix to hit us for like 1,000,000 damage, I feel like that's a win for us. Okay, so we're taking 8, falling to 6. But Vi gets to stick around. Unfortunately, she doesn't get to stick around with the... She's like one short of leveling up, which is a real bummer.
Bury me at sea.
Real bummer.
I don't need a plan. Freeze.
We can get the big Vi strikes in after this. I am happy enough to trade Vi away for literally any unit that he has. And so if we find ourselves in a spot to where you know, we get to send Vi into the LeBlanc and just get a trade, that's fine. We just need to be in don't die mode, because we do have to worry about stuff like Darius coming in now. Whoa. Atrocity, wow. I mean, he's a... That's insane, right? Why would you do that? It's like he's a... Is the Captain Kilrix, like he's just kind of done at this point. Like, I'm just seeing, it's like he has a 6-attack LeBlanc and he throws it at our Vi instead of our face. It's just wild to me. I don't know why he's so invested in this unit. Now, granted, I haven't played against this deck. I just know that Rico Rex plays it, and it involves coming at you with all the overwhelm plays. But I don't get what we were missing there.
Come on! Hot shit, trouble coming at ya!
Second blacksmith. We can look to combat cook and then play the second one, gain a little bit more health. Maybe we can we can push ourselves back up out of Darius flip range. That would be kind of fun. There's Darius. It's not as fun as I want it to be. Yeah. Let's see if we can't spike a Crocolith, the 7/7 out of here. What have we got? We want the combat reel because it has health attached to it. And we'll just take the highest health unit. I'm not certain if that was enough. Yeah, this should... So far, he can only take us to 2.
By my hand.
Oh, fucking that stuff, though. I don't know. I feel like we came in and prevented all the damage that game. That was tough.
This time.
All right, GG. Glad we at least got to see that deck in action. I've seen it literally 0 times on the ladder. I just knew what it is because of Rico Rex, and so this is what it is. All right, into the next one. Should have that deck tracker back up now. It's so fucking annoying whenever the game crashes and the deck tracker just doesn't work until you restart everything. I don't know. I really want to switch over to the Runeterra.ar one, but I can't. I just, for the life of me, cannot figure out how to get it to actually work, and so I guess working most of the time is better than not working at all. All right, next set of battles though. This is a pretty easy ban on Taliyah Malphite. I'm not particularly worried about these Fiora decks, although we probably should be. And then this Reputation Sejuani kind of deck, I don't think we're too worried about. We're not trying to do any kind of big OTK strategies, and so take it out of the way. Bring in our Vayne Jarvan for the big wins. Alright, so I'm not usually a big fan of starting with Vayne, but I'm always curious how this is going to play out against Ashe Sejuani here, or Ashe LeBlanc in the days of old, given that opponent's going to be like really tied into Frostbites, and Frostbites don't do anything against our formidable units, but if they have stuff like Calling Strike, or if they have like, what's it called, the big expensive spell. if they have big expensive spell, then they all just kill everything that we have. The Reckoning. And so it can be some interesting back and forth here. I was looking to come in with the Petricite Chargers, but now that we pick up the Broadwing, I'd like to attack into this Starlit Seer. See, that's what I was talking about. The Calling Strike just kind of comes in for free. Very weird matchup in that sense. Sure. I think Ashe still works with this stuff. There was a point in time to where if a unit had 0 attack and you frostbit it, then Ashe didn't do anything. But I'm pretty certain they fixed that now. And so if opponents say troll chance a Broadwing to give it neg attack, then it still gets
Monsters still lurk in Demasia's
then it still
every
gets that
shadow.
bonus up on Ashe. So what's our attack here? It's like I'm leaning towards boosting the Broadwing, hooking one of these smaller guys, and then we'll just try and put some damage on. There's probably no reason to try and put damage on, other than worrying about the Reckoning. Oh, we've already got this champion strength in hand, though. I don't want to, like, throw away dudes as we build up to a champion strength. Definitely feels better now that we see Jarvan come into hand. Have him ready to attack next turn.
I will unite the Freljord.
Ashe is at 2 of 5.
Amarosans, stand
Not
together.
entirely worried about her at the moment. Rip the Vayne, and now we'll come at him with the Jarvan next turn. Look at that, 4 points of damage coming through. Look out. Look out. Sure.
My aim is true.
Our dude's not so good at the blocking at the moment. But again, this is still fairly manageable to me. Watch this. He drops in the crystal arrow,
A gift
and
from
then we're gonna
Amarosa.
champion strength right after. Say I'd like all the stats back, please. Load them up. Now he's just gonna Reckoning, isn't he? He can still Reckoning all these units away. Sure. We knew that was gonna be nonsense, but just kind of is what it is with this deck.
Wounded and pray for the fallen.
I think the thing with that though is like so much of our deck is like so good since a lot of their tricks just don't do anything, and then they just play one copy of Reckoning, and so I can't imagine people are playing more than one copy. Like it's an 8 mana do nothing a lot of the time, and so maybe it's seeing more play than I'm giving it credit for, but I'm not gonna super play around his one of spell. This guy seems like he played against Nidalee once and was just like, nope. Nope, not doing that. I'm not doing that. If anything happens to me in this best of 3, I'm gonna beat Nidalee. Point to us to where the bad cat hurt you. All right. Into this next one. This is with the Jarvan Fiora now, or the Garen Fiora, I'm sorry. I think I'm okay to hang on to Balin in this. He's a little more expensive than I usually like to keep, but I feel like we're going to have a lot of time to get into action over the course of this game. That guy loves pushing the emote button. It's the most fucking annoying emote on the game. Let's turn him off. Easy peasy. We'll get you on board at some point, Durandi Sculptor. You'll get to party eventually. Look at these nonsense battles we're getting into. Okay. Let's all play our cards at the same time. Do we want to drop the Sculptor? It's like slightly awkward in this next turn in the sense that we can't play the Sculptor and the Balin and get everything going. I think we're good to add in Balin and then probably just go ahead and Darken Spear him. Let the Petricite Charger hang out at home. Interesting. Definitely glad to see that come down before we play Balin. Do we want to give him a little bit more time now, though? I don't think so. I think I'm like on board with Balin and just load him up with the Darkened Spear. The other options we have like Durandi Sculptor and the Petricite Charger. But no, this is not this is not how I was anticipating these games going. Purify is coming through hard.
For justice, for Demacia.
Ready, Scout? Let's take to the skies.
That's probably enough. I don't want to just throw away our units here, right? As we're about to enter this space to where, you know, if we drop a Galio, we can still gain some bonus health off of these dum-dums, and so I'd like to take it at least a little bit slower in that sense. Now we're going to get the Jarvan hook into Garen. The way this game is gone, I can't... I have to imagine there's going to be a bunch of Frostbites rolling through. Show me where the bad Nidalee hurt you. Okay. It's wild. Next turn, we got that Garen flip.
Winter take you.
So I think I'm okay to put the Dark and Aegis onto Jarvan and block Garen. It's not enough to get... Like, if he has a Frostbite, it's not enough to kill Jarvan, which I think is enough at this point. Like, my expectations on this combat are pretty low. Just the number of combat tricks they have is pretty monumental at this point.
These eyes see all. Who dares defy my will?
Need repairs?
So if he flash freezes or whatever, I don't really care. And then we're fairly safe in terms of this next turn. Because we get to throw down so many units right now.
Alright, let's get to work.
Alright, so we're going to Sculptor, we're going to Broadwing, we're going to Balin. He's going to open with the rally, right? The Garen's going to give him the rally at the start of the turn. But I still just feel pretty safe. Because we have so many blockers at this point. Again, Scout unit should survive into Garen. If he plays combat tricks, great. I don't really care. And then if this Yordle Ranger manages to die whatever way, we get the Anaka back in our hand. All in all, pretty happy with how all that went. Now I'm interested to see if he adds another card, right? He has the mana to Judgment. And a Judgment off of Garen is going to be... it's got to be disaster mode for us, but... If we get Giral on the board to increase the cost of those Judgments, then we're starting to look in pretty good shape. Okay, GG. It's so nice to be in that space to where you go, I'm not annihilated by judgment. You have so many times to where you run into it and you're just like, fuck, you know? If they've got it, they've got it. I just automatically lose the game, but I can't just not attack here. And then you always get blown out. They always have it. And so I'm glad to have the Giral on the board to make things better. Alright, so up against that same Garen Fiora deck, no timelines in hand. I'm just going to take a full mulligan. See if we can't find one. We can't. This is a disaster of a start. Ugh. Alright. Not really how I was hoping this one was going to go. Make a sad face for your boy Bust. Alright, starting in on the emotes again. Good job, guy.
Who goes that?
Got more scars than years, and got a lot of years.
Alright, so let's see how this goes. We don't have any combat tricks in this deck. I'm not certain, you know, how aware the opposition is of the kind of combat trick status of this deck. And so I'm interested to see what he does, if we want to actually attack with this Jax or not. I think... I mean, the interesting thing with Jax in this space is, like, I want to attack with at least one. If he has a combat trick to win this, that's fine, I don't care. He's played like a million sharp sights. I'm not surprised to see that happen. But it's like if we get a 4 damage attack here, and then we can find just a little bit more attack, we can get Jax flipped on our next attack. And so I want to see if he's got that possibility in him, and we can. Just put a Fix Him 5000 on Jax to increase his attack and help him flip. So he's got a couple of options out here.
These eyes see all. Blessed by snow and stars.
This is odd. Like I have to get more of this Jax feeling, since in the days of past, this is a pretty decent block, given that Jax would start leveling up off of it, and now he doesn't do that anymore. He has to be coming in off of the attack. But all in all, I feel like this is a fairly reasonable win for us, in the sense that he didn't get to add like his spells onto his good cards, right? He's not playing those spells onto Fiora, he's playing them on random dum-dums. And so he hasn't been able to come out here and try and take over the game.
For Acacia.
All right, this is the best we can do in terms of attacking. Getting that open attack out here with a bursty unit. I mean, we're not that far away from lethal. We got 9 burn in hand, along with whatever this augmented clockling can do, and so I don't hate that aspect of it. Like, I don't think we need a Sump Monument this turn, though. I'm not certain how Garen interacts with this. I don't think Garen's strike ability counts hitting the Nexus when you have a Sump Monument on board. But I think we still want to just get this Clockling down and try and hit for some elusive damage. Seeing the timelines turn up, but I'm curious if it even matters at this point. I'm leaning towards just taking this Jax so that we have a little bit of protection for him. Fall to 8. Just wait. I don't know. If this deck has Loyal Badger Bear in it, we're just gonna get smoked off of this turn. But I don't know. This ultimately feels fairly safe to me. Purify. I forgot this guy was the world's biggest lover of Purify. Oh wow. see if we can at least get Garen off the board. Wouldn't be surprised to see him have another combat trick here. This deck seems to have a ton of them, but this is okay. See, now's the point to where I'm just like, man, I really wish we had that Sump Monument down last turn, because the Garen wouldn't be flipped. It just takes away so many attacks from them if they don't get that rally every turn. But we're just on the burn plan at this point, I think. That's not going well out here. Gotta figure out how to get a big hit in with Vi.
You're gonna want to watch this. Need a weapon? Hope you stretched.
It's like I'm eyeballing giving this Vi Overwhelm to send her crashing into this Petricite charger, but it's like at the end of the day, you know, they're just gonna have another flash freeze.
The mirage fades. Vi stands for vicious.
We see through all.
This'll be a blast.
He's got a fresh Ziggs. Ugh. He's only got one card in hand, so we do have a lot of potential to just get an actual Vi kill this turn. Especially with the Vault Breaker coming through. So, I mean, he was down to one card, right? I think we have to block with Vi here. It's just so brutal. Like, if we block with Vi and then he has some rando combat trick and she gets taken off the board, then we're pretty far behind. We have a second Vi in hand. I guess that one will be flipped after this Vi blocks.
Come on.
So maybe we just go ahead and take that. And then our Jax isn't going to be able to deal any damage this turn. Let's do this. Let's put Jax in front of the Starlit Seer. So we can drop it down to 1 health and then hook it with Vi.
An auspicious
Sure.
season.
I mean, I think we're doing everything we can here. This game has just been fucking nonsense.
I'm doing this my way.
Shouldn't have. We blocked the wrong unit with Vi as well. I forget. She was taking that point of damage off of the thing. That's kind of on me. But we only got like 3 damage of puff caps in our deck, so maybe we'll make it into our next attack token. Not really interested in playing Parts Made Whole as we're out here playing this game. That was sloppy though. Like we had it set up so well that even if he didn't have the frostbite, we would have just punted that game. I would have been pretty upset once we got out of combat there and said, where the fuck's our Vi at? Like, we set this up so perfectly to have the big overwhelm and the flipped hit because he attacked and everything, and ugh, nonsense. But I don't know. I think we got a little overzealous this game. I'm like 95% confident that if you Sump Monument, Garen doesn't get the strike onto your Nexus, and that gave the opponent that free overwhelm. We would have prevented like 60 points of damage if we just played that Sump Monument first to prevent that strike from Garen, and then he wouldn't have got the flip, he wouldn't have had the rally last turn, and even with this going kind of poorly here, like he's certainly ahead on board, I think we could have developed an OTK. And so as much as I want this game to be a victory on our end, I'm pretty sure we've thrown it away. Let's see where this gets us. So we'll take like 15, 19, 21 or so. It's like 100 puff caps, be at like 170. So it's gonna take a bit of a roll. We gotta get a touch of a win here in terms of the puff caps, but you might still have a shot. Seems like this opponent's disconnected as well. It's tough to tell. I guess he could just be out here pressing a bunch of emotes or something. That seemed to be that seemed to be what they were here for, but it's tough to tell. Yeah, lots of good games, lots of good learning. It's very wild to me to jump into these Ruthless Rumbles and play against 0 Cosmic Calls. That to me is the kind of strangest moment that we've seen out of all of this, and so kind of weird and wild. Alright, let that timer rope down. I don't know what the deal with our opponents is today. The matchmaking's been kind of fucky. It was it got stuck on that loading screen a little bit here earlier, and so alright, hold tight. Let's see what happens. 7. Fuck. Alright, GG. And so, typical for our first Ruthless Rumble, 1 win, 2 losses. The 1 win being someone disconnected. That's the way that's the way these things typically start out. But that was a good set of games, and I think it really kind of highlights a lot of what we brought forth in the opening segment, in the sense that you know, you want to be playing good cards. Like, I don't want to trash on our opponents too much, but do you really suspect that your, like, Garen, Ashe, anti-Nidalee lineup is going to take you to 9 wins in very many events? You know, probably not. And so first and foremost, you need to be playing decks that are capable of just having decent matchups across the board. And then you also need to be able to take down the opposing early game units. We didn't run into that too much here. I thought that was a very kind of odd set of games that we ran into, but I don't think this is the opening day of Ruthless Rumbles, but I feel like as we start to play Ruthless Rumbles across the weekend, we're going to get back into that kind of groove of where we're just playing against like top 500 Masters players, and we're going to just be seeing like lots of just on meta stuff, and we're going to see a lot of triple Cosmic Call and the like. But I think at the end of the day, we need to feel like really comfortable going into into matchups like we just faced, right? Regardless of what you think the meta is going to look like, in 3 or 4 of your matches, you're just going to play against random shit like we did right there. And you have to be able to win those matches. And so that's been the kind of downside here. I was not as thrilled with Jack's Vi as I really wanted to be, but I was pretty happy with all the other decks that we played. And so maybe we'll look to slide in a little Cosmic Call in place of Jack's Vi here, and then take it into battle for another Rumble. But nonetheless, good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. This is Bust and me. Thank you for being here.